One. On the episode 13 of the Mainly Wrestling Show, we're here after a slight sabbatical. That's not Lissy Almeida, that's Matt Leach. Selfie with wrestlers and personalities extraordinaire. He's John Jacobs. I am Jack Milner. I think I became bald since last time we saw everyone. Yeah, I haven't got cancer. Don't worry. I'm just very thin in hair. We're here on the eve of WrestleMania 40. But Mr. Leach, I'll give you your full name. As always, the biggest talking point in professional wrestling is the punker. And on the eve of the biggest show, when he's not involved and he's injured and he was supposed to be in the main event, it's all about CM Punk, baby. What did you make of his interview with Ariel Helwani?
First of all, thank you very much for the invite, gentlemen. It's an honor to be
Long
here.
overdue.
long overdue. I've been asking for a very long time to get involved. But yeah, the CM Punk interview, I think it was really, 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 really good. I watched the whole thing. It was like 1 hour, 50 minutes. Helwani, I think he did a really good job. He got everything that he obviously wanted to get out of Punk. Probably Punk gave too much information away, probably, if you asked him today. But I thought it was a really good interview.
He was saying, wasn't it, as he was kind of going along, going, "Oh, I shouldn't say this. This is going to annoy a lot of people."
Yeah.
But Helwani goes, "Who? People on the internet? Yeah, fuck them." But who comes out the worst from this? I mean, he didn't have an NDA for Wembley, and given the facts, I think all three of us flew from another country to watch this specific show. I flew in to watch CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. That was my draw. That's the person to think we were that close to not seeing that. I mean, that's insane in this day and age,
Imagine
right?
if it hadn't come out and they not announced anything. Can you imagine like how the crowd would have reacted?
I can't even tell you who was on second that night. I was like, Punk's on first versus Joe. They killed it. I think, right, that's me doing him off for a pint. JJ, who was on second?
I'm so bad at remembering specifics.
Was it
like
maybe
that,
Kenny and Kota and
I think Kenny came on after Punk, right? I'd have to look it up.
I just remember like
I would be
Greg
guessing.
doing his brains on those which match comes out first, and I've just like I think we're there in the stands going, okay, you can have this because fine, yeah.
To answer your question, though, definitely Tony Clown came out of it worse, right? I mean,
well, you're a man in a senior position, right? You're a man who has to lead teams. How badly does this paint him as a leader of men, as a man in a significant position of power? The facts, Punk, I want to call him Phil. Phil has alleged several times, fix this. What do you want me to do? I'm not telling you how to do your job. Fix this now, otherwise I will. And
also
nothing happened 3 times.
Yeah, he said that on several occasions, right? He gave at least 2 examples where he had to say to his boss, "You sort this, otherwise I will, and you won't like the way that I sort this out." Now, if somebody comes to me and says that in my office, and I didn't do anything about it, it's embarrassing, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm going to say, if someone comes in your team and you go, "Look, Leachy, you got to sort this, pal. Otherwise, I'm going to go twat the guy over there in, I don't know, finance." And you go, "All right, let me have a word to them." You don't just leave and go, "Oh, well, he's just a bit, that's crazy, Phil. Let him get on with
maybe
it."
Maybe isn't. Yeah, it's exactly. Tony's thinking, oh, maybe he isn't serious about this. Maybe he isn't going to do anything. But yeah, no. I mean, at the end of the day, mate, he's taking on a huge job, right, Tony? And I think he needs support, right? He needs management. He needs people in place. Again, I'm not comparing it to the WWE, but WWE's a monster, right? But it's not going to grow, is it? This company is not going to grow without extra layers of the organizational chart has got to get bigger with the success of the company. Otherwise, it's just going to implode.
The thing is, I don't think we really learned too much about what Tony is like as a leader because we all saw it in real time during that post-match scrum, right? Like the way that Punk was talking, if that was Vince McMahon sitting there, or I mean, we don't have to use Vince McMahon, but any strong leader of a company
we'll cut that out.
Sitting there and their employees saying these things, the leader of the company shouldn't just be sitting there almost shrinking under this guy's gaze, right? He should be standing up and saying something, or quietly, "Phil, not the time. We can speak about this later. Whatever, and go from there." But yeah, the way he handled it was not good then, and the way that Punk says they handled it, not good now. So, yeah,
in that position,
I don't think we learned anything specifically new about how Tony handles himself, and I don't think we learned anything new about how Punk feels, because Punk will push his agenda based on the situation at the time, right? Like when he came out for the first dance in AEW, he was sitting there saying, you know, I don't even acknowledge what I did in WWE as wrestling. Right now, this is wrestling. I'm home, kind of thing. When he goes to WWE, now he's home apparently, and it's just he's saying what fits his agenda. I think the fact that Cody stood up, or not stood up, came out recently and has said he doesn't necessarily agree with everything that Punk has said is probably a bit more of an accurate portrayal of the real situation, because we know that Punk will just say what suits him at the time. And as is always the case in these things, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, I mean, on that, right? So he said the problem is with this company, they are appealing to a very niche fan base. And so I said, well, you came in and said, whatever it was, August 10th, 2005, I left professional wrestling, and June 16th, I'm back. He went, yeah, I was appealing to that niche, hardcore internet fan base. So it's like, okay, fair enough. You've answered that very well. But that just proves, I think, Phil's very good at thinking on his feet, and he's got like that, quick stock answer to get him out of trouble. But
I think one thing though I learned about, I agree with JJ about we didn't learn much extra about Tony and how he manages his team. But one thing I was shocked about is Punk claiming that nobody spoke to him for 6 months. After, you know what I mean? That doesn't.
Do you believe him?
What I mean, maybe he got the odd text, right? But he probably doesn't count that as he might not count that as actual communication, right? You've left the company, you've asked to leave, you've asked to be let go. You're injured, and nobody's speaking to you. No one's reaching out. That made it worse, I think, for TK.
It's not the first time that we've heard something like that. That's the first time we've heard something like that. Jonathan Gresham said that he was not really spoken to when he came into AEW. We'd seen the issues that they've had with Miro. Even Miro tweeted, I've been injured for X amount of time. Sorry you didn't hear about it, Tony, kind of thing. Like the lack of communication, I think probably Tony's taking on too much, and goes back to what you said earlier, Matt, that he needs to build up that team around him because he can't handle everything on his own. I think they've still got this startup mentality, but we're 4.5 years in now, and the company's growing and growing. You've got to bring people in around you that can help you out with those kinds of things, because you can't let things like that just fester, because it becomes a problem. And he has lost one of the biggest assets to his company because of, not just because of that. I think there's some blame lies with Punk, some blame lays with others, but Tony, as the owner of that company, has to take charge of that situation.
Yeah,
and I suppose. Sorry, Leach, go on.
So I say, speaking of others, JJ. I mean, again, I think this clique, I suppose you could call it, using that word, but of the elite, Colt Cabana, so Jericho as well. I mean, 100% for me. Jericho feeds a lot of stuff and stirs the pot with people like.
Leach, did you see Dave talking it afterwards? He came out and says, "Look, he keeps saying, the elite was the Young Bucks told me this. It wasn't the Young Bucks. Dave won't say who it is. It was Jericho.
I would say it's Jericho.
100%.
Very friendly with Meltzer and he would have stood to gain from Punk not being there, I suppose, in his eyes. He gets himself a nice. Is it a 10-year contract? Was rumored. He signed
something stupid, isn't it?
Something stupid. But yeah, I think again, it's quite. This for me, like another star like Punk, with Punk's attitude, would now not go to this company, right? So Edge is a top star. Okay, you could put him up there with Punk, couldn't you? Like in terms of his run he had at WWE, but his mentality is probably a lot different to Punk's. But you have someone with a similar mentality to Punk, where he wants to get involved and tell and give people and educate people on what's, in his opinion, is right and wrong. That talent is going to not entertain AEW, which is detrimental to that company, in my opinion.
Who do you think? I mean, I don't think there's anyone in Punk's.
Seth Rollins, for example. 100%.
Seth Rollins, he's not an AEW guy.
No, but he's got a mentality similar to Punk.
Oh, really? Oh. I disagree. I
Similar,
think
not
he's a
the
lifer
same.
there. I mean, he's in Ring of Honor, right? He is another guy that signed a WWE deal whilst being Ring of Honor World Champion. Yeah, loads of people have done that. You can think of like, I think Adam Cole did it. Going back, James Gibson, who you'll know as Jamie Noble, JJ.
Mm.
Punk did it himself. He signed his OVW contract on the belt with Shane Hagadorn.
Yeah.
That's when Danielson came out and said, "This, I'm going nowhere. This belt represents wrestling freedom." And that's when I was getting into it as like a 18, 19-year-old. This scrawny little pasty kid, he's actually pretty cool. And I wonder if Danielson and Punk clash with that, because Danielson's always kind of talked about the right way of doing things and putting people over and almost always being too altruistic for his own good. Whereas Punk's a guy who he spoke very disparagingly, didn't he, about the booking of the Hangman feud and you guys have never drawn shit. I've come and drawn the first $1 million house, and these guys have done nothing. Even in the press conference, right? He kind of took a swipe at everything they'd done previously. Like, no one's ever drawn any money here. None of you are stars. That's why I'm here. And it was announced, he kind of said, didn't he, on the interview with Ariel, he had two contracts. One as a talent, another one as kind of a consultant. So I wonder if he thought he would be instilling, because it sounds like he expected Tony to take his ideas in terms of running the company and how things should be done. And you probably saw that in Collision, and then that done throughout the company. But oh, one, right? That was the period of Kenny
Punk
and
didn't want Collision, though, did he? In his words, right? He
I
was
mean,
given, but he didn't want it.
I read somewhere at the time when he was at that when he went to that WWE show backstage, right, and was kicked out. I think you might have said, JJ, you said he just wants to, he's trying to get himself sacked now.
Yeah.
He's almost sabotaging his own career. And he kind of said, didn't he, like to Tony, fire me, I don't want to be here. No, Kite too valuable. Okay, we'll give you your own show. Like, okay, fine, I'll be a good soldier, I'll try and make it work. I'll get the House of Black and FTR and a few of the guys, and then that lasted what 3 months in his role before blowing up. So
Ultimately, right, like none of us know every single thing that has happened, backstage to Punk, between Punk and Tony, all of these people, like we don't know. But at the end of the day, wrestling fans wanted for 10 years, was it, Punk to be back, and now he is back. He's on your TV screen. So regardless of kind of what you think of Tony, what you think of how things went in AEW, at the end of the day, if you like watching CM Punk on the mic in that ring at that commentary desk, then you get to see that if that's something that you want to see. So does any of this
Great
really
point.
matter in the long run?
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
great
if you're a
point.
fan of AEW, right, then you might see that there's problems, but I'm sure Tony's aware of these problems. I'm sure people within the company are aware of these problems, and it's something that they're going to worry about themselves internally. I don't think they need CM Punk to come out and say some shit to Ariel Helwani, who is a WWE guy, and
hates
getting
AEW,
over
doesn't
for
it?
the WWE.
Ever since that interview with Tony, and Tony refused to answer everything, he basically
Yeah,
kicked him off and went, "Oh my God, he's a perfect example of these AEW freakazoids online." Like, oh, and then they came out. I mean, Ariel is paid by WWE as well. His
Yeah.
agent for 10 years was Nick Khan, and you know,
yeah.
slightly conflict of interest. But
I've got a
do
question for you, because JJ's just inspired this question to me. But do you think if there's no AEW, does CM
Mm,
Punk come back to wrestling?
no.
I don't think so.
Mm.
I don't think
I
he.
mean, I think maybe he would have now that Vince has gone, maybe he buries a hatchet with with Hunter and has one match at WrestleMania, but I don't think you would see him kind of week in, week out like we would be now if he wasn't injured, right? I don't think that's likely.
Yeah, I think the lore of AEW, however TK sold the role to him, he was obviously very interested. He got back in shape, and we saw some good feuds. The MJF feud, that was really good feud.
And the thing is as well, right? If you look back at what the likes of the Bucks and Omega were saying about Punk before he came in, you can go back years, like way before. They've always thought him as someone that they would have wanted to work with. So I don't think it's the story is kind of painted now that Bucks hated CM Punk, Kenny Omega hated CM Punk, they didn't want him there. All of this, I think it's something whether there's like a personality clash or whatever it is that's led to that fallout. It's not a case of they just didn't want him there, because they 100% did, and they knew having him there would have been good for business. Whether that didn't transpire to be the way that it rolled out, but it's not something that's they just decided we're going to be a dickhead to CM Punk, and so yeah.
No,
Do
I mean,
you
if you
think a part of
remember,
it?
sorry, Jack, I don't know if you remember the Art of Wrestling. Remember the Art of Wrestling podcast, Colt Cabana?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Punk was on
I used to,
that.
before you went up behind the Patreon, well, I used to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, then just to to clarify, JJ said to add a bit of extra to it, and they were having a conversation on that podcast saying that, oh, I'll go work with the Young Bucks. Very famous comment now. So yeah, you're right, JJ. They clearly wanted to work with each other at some point, but something's changed in the period where Punk left WWE. So it's a shame.
Do you think there was like some kind of competitive jealousy? Because before Punk came in, right, Kenny's world champion, the Young Bucks, I think, are tag champions, and they were running that Super Click, whatever it's called. And then Punk came in the first dance, immediately becomes the guy. He's the guy everybody want to watch. He's doing the best quarter hours, and by the sounds of it, right, he was now Tony's right hand man. I think they announced, is it the Revolution pay-per-view that year? He had the match with Eddie, and that's where he announced, I bought Ring of Honor, and Punk is almost crying at this press conference, or whatever it's called, saying, "Look, I'm so glad all my memories from Ring of Honor are in the hands of this guy, because he's going to look after him, not those wankers over there." Like, oh, these guys have actually been pretty tight. Okay, fair play. And it was obviously paved out. They obviously had the Kenny and Hangman story, and I don't think they knew where to go after that. And it's like, well, Punk's a big star in the company, he gets the belt. And then by the sounds of it, Hangman was unhappy with perceiving that what Punk kept Cabana from Dynamite, which I find is bollocks
So the man
anyway.
who got fired but still works there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's where it all stemmed from, in that promo where he says, we all rearranged. That was the thing for me, that you've arranged this beforehand. You say this, I say this. And then he's saying something completely new to me. And I thought, you fucker. Right, okay. And I've watched it back, and Punk says, man, I don't know why you're taking it so personally. Just business. We're just wrestling for a championship belt. And like you can see the wheels turning, like, just give it like a blank answer. And
Thing
then
is, though, I think that Anchor's kind of Streisand effect, that promo from Hangman, because I don't think it would have been anywhere near as big as it was. We wouldn't even remember it now if this fallout didn't stem from that Hangman promo. Like, it's all come from the fact that Punk has made it into this huge thing, but I don't think it needed to become that huge thing. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing to what you were saying, Jack, about what you were saying about Tony Khan buying ROH, I mean, he did make it quite clear in the interview that he doesn't have an issue with Tony Khan. I think the question was, what would you do if you saw Tony? No, he'd say hi, because
yeah,
he doesn't have an issue with him. He thinks he's a decent guy, just obviously has issues with how he has run the company, which is fair enough.
almost like the framework, right, of the company. I wonder if he thought, the thing is with Punk, he came up, he was wrestling in the late 90s, and he was, by his own admission, he went under the learning tree of like a Terry Funk or a Harley Race or a Tracy Smothers. And if you listen to him on the interview, it's about getting butts in seats and selling pay-per-views. Brandon Thurston and John Pollock did a really good podcast, I think, yesterday, where they said Punk's just a little bit too stubborn for his own good way. That isn't the business model anymore. Like, it's great and WWE are making a lot of money, but realistically, it's quarter hours and television rights and rights fees. That's what really drives business.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just the fact he's too kind of old school for his own good. And that's me saying that, right? Who kind of is in the same mindset. It's just a case of he's been out of the business so long, he hasn't been able to really understand where it is now gone to.
Yeah, but still, Jack, when TK is paying for, let's say, a 12,000 seats arena, and he's putting 4,000 people in those seats, he's wasting money, right? I think that's what Punk. I understand what you're saying, but he can still save money.
True.
We could have gone to maybe a 7,000 seater rather than a 12, maybe. I think Punk's seeing these cracks and he's saying it's not about the money. It's about, it's about putting on these big matches is what Punk is saying, right? Which
6 stars, baby, in the Tokyo Dome.
6-star matches, yeah, which is great for us, right? Because at the end of the day, it's almost like I've gone full circle with my wrestling. I used to watch, I watched WWE obviously 25 years ago or whatever, and then when Ring of Honor came along, that's basically the AEW of the day, right? It's like, oh, they focus on matches in Ring of Honor, but now it feels like, for me now, I'm back into storylines. I love
Same.
good wrestling, but I prefer storylines.
It's bizarre. I was saying the only thing I've been watching is like the Bloodline stuff, and that is the same with. Wasn't asked with the Bloodline when it was Jay and Jimmy, and then Sami Zayn. I mean, Sami Zayn's. I don't think Sami gets his flowers for how he kind of kept that thing alive and through his own kind of over the top ways, and how ridiculous he was. He got that over to another level. And you look at the reaction he got at the Rumble, and then Montreal for Elimination Chamber, and then obviously got back together with Kevin Owens. But the storyline through that was brilliant, and I'm with you. I love a great match. I bought the Forbidden Door pay-per-view to watch Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr. But the thing that annoys me about Ring of Honor, AEW, probably during the slip, the last probably 2 years is the lack of storylines, or the lack of storylines which are interesting. I don't know if that's fair or not. I cancelled my Triller subscription in last September, so I've only been keeping up with either on social media or YouTube, but there doesn't seem to be the threads running through it that it was, say, 3-4 years ago. JJ, is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, if it's not something that you find interesting, the storylines that they're telling, then you switch off, right? And whether I find it interesting or you find it interesting, but the proof's in the pudding, right? The numbers have been on a downward curve. I think we spoke about this before, right? That when they first started the company, they had this whole idea around, who the first 4 or 5 heavyweight champions were, some ideas around some other storylines, and that was all built out for a good couple of years into the future. And then since that's kind of they've got to the end of that point, I think they've maybe struggled a little bit to carry on telling those kind of compelling, nuanced stories that people had come to know and love, and whether the pandemic's had an effect, whether bringing in, all these stars from other places has impacted, I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely not been as good as it was.
It's a strange one because I mean they brought Okada in, they brought up Will Ospreay, Mercedes money, and yet none of them has. I mean, I'm sure Leach, you'll have seen the the Bischoff thing in the week saying, "I told everyone, no one is going to make an impact because the audience is kind of different to the point where you can't bring it. There is no big star that can come in and do numbers. They have to almost reset and build from scratch, and they have tried that, haven't they, the last 3 years, and they talk about the feelings back.
I mean, for me, the best storylines they've had is from talent that you could say, in air quotes, that they've nurtured, they brought along, not the outside talent. The MJF, anything MJF touched was gold, more or less. It was gold, right?
Until the
I mean, the devil storyline. I mean, again,
the devil stuff was a drizzling shit. I'm sorry.
All of us at the beginning were tuning into this devil storyline. And then I think what the issue is, when plans change, they don't change for the better. I think that's where Tony and his team don't have an answer to, oh, he's injured. What are we going to do? Oh, let's just do this. Let's botch this in.
And would you compare that to, say, you go back to Bryan Danielson, right? Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. Jojo, this is your era, 10 years ago. Didn't they have Batista win the Rumble? There's going to be Batista Triple H, and the crowd movement behind Dragon was so much that
exactly the same was going on with Rock and Cody, right? WWE can change on the fly,
and that's the thing, right? That was my point. That 100% they had decided they were going with Rock and Roman, and then the reaction over the next 2-3 days was unreal, and they thought, well, okay, we kind of have to go with Cody. Let's find a way of trying to make this make sense. And to be fair to The Rock, he's done a like a fucking phenomenal job. And the problem was he's been cutting himself, right? And piecing it together with footage. Like, I asked you, you didn't say nothing to me at the time. You said, "Yeah, Rock, you go do it." And then you came out on stage, and no, you interrupt me now. Then okay, that's why you deserve to slap and blah blah blah. But as you said, they were able to pivot and do what the fans wanted and made it make sense. AEW has not shown the ability to do that under any real circumstances, right? Someone gets injured, now just put the belt on Mox. He's good for a few months.
I mean, they got the best intentions, right? But like I say, when the pressure's on, the cracks do show, don't they, in AEW at the moment. Maybe he fixes that. Hopefully he does. Maybe he brings some consultants in. I don't know. Does anybody know here? Does he have like outside consultants? I mean, it'd be great if you had like I mean, this won't happen now, but like a Bischoff or Cornette or whoever.
I think Cornette and Bischoff are a big price
Yeah,
to be in Jacksonville.
I mean,
they brought
Bischoff,
in Will.
Bischoff appeared in AEW before, right? Like, it's weird that, I mean, my view about the Bischoffs and the Cornettes as well, as much as I
They're just working,
respect
brother.
what they did on screen. Jack and I on this pod before have watched a load of old 80s stuff. I think Cornette's a fucking genius, but my view about what he does now is he has an audience and he plays up to the audience. Whether he actually believes what he is saying or not is another question, right? But
he plays a character still. He still plays a character. He knows what these people want to hear. But,
exactly.
But if you had, you got to listen to both sides, haven't you? So if you've got Tony's got his opinion with everyone around him, he's got similar opinion. And if you have someone coming in every so often saying, no, actually, you need to tone down on this a little bit, maybe it improves the product. But
it's good to have different. The problem is like kind of with social media, right, and Twitter in particular. If you're on it's changed right with the algorithm, right? But normally, you only get the opinions of people you're following, and you generally follow people who have a similar opinion to yourself. So it's an echo chamber where everybody tells each other, "It's a great idea. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, wonderful." If you have people with contrasting views and opinions, at least you see from a different side. And I don't think since AEW's kind of existence 5 years ago, there's never been anybody kind of challenging that. I think Cody did. I'd be fascinated to see the full story of Cody leaving AEW because by the sounds of it, he had issues with, oh, him and his family had issues with other people. The intimation is Cody had a bit of a falling out with Kenny in the Bucks as opposed to Tony. But the fact that he was
nobody falls out with Tony.
Why do you think
the person that I'm thinking of a lot is CM Punk, right? Sorry, CM Punk, the complete opposite. Bryan Danielson, right? It's been quite clear that him and Tony Khan have been very, very close, and he relies on Bryan a lot for some feedback and stuff. But I think that they got close because of what you were saying there, Jack. That it's like an echo chamber, right? They've got that closeness because they have a lot of similar views around how wrestling should be and what should be done. So it probably doesn't get too many kind of like opposing views, like you've said, which is a shame.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
there
it's a
is
funny one because like you mentioned, Cornet will never go anywhere near AW, but from a business standpoint, if FTR were to turn heel and Cornet comes out with them, oh my God, they would draw so much fucking money in that company. Likewise, if Punk had stayed in AEW or Cody and Cornet manager, the reason why the Rock stuff has been so successful is because they've got heat. Heat draws money. Personal issues draw money. There are not enough personal issues in AEW because it's kind of, I don't know, it's seen as
friends you're not my friend anymore. Oh, let's have a match, Or even and then stables of I mean, we'll get to AEW Dynamite in a bit, right? But even stables are feuding with each other or wrestling each other.
I mean, yeah, I feel like
I mean, look, they had all the money if they had to put a Bucks in the ring against CM Punk and any other, but they didn't do it.
how do you not get to the point where you've got Punk versus Kenny Omega or Punk Danielson? Oh, I mean, how many? I mean, Greg offered, didn't he, the Wembley main event markets? I think I had Punk or Punk and FTR in like every combination, and they never pulled the trigger. Dax Harwood has got that trademarked as well, so you presume. Do you envisage a scenario where, and I do, and I explain after. Do you envisage a scenario where Punk goes back to AEW?
No.
Not at this point. Like I think that his body's too broken down. We've seen the number of injuries that he's had. He's not as quick as he was. That's just age. I'm not taking a shot at the guy. Still love him. Still enjoy watching him on my TV show.
You
Whatever I
slaughtered
think
him
of
the
his
last few
personal
years.
views. I think there's a difference for me in terms of what I enjoy watching on my TV and what I might think of someone on a personal level. I can still sit here and watch a Benoit match and appreciate it for what it is, regardless of anything else that's happened. Right? I can still sit and watch a Attitude Era angle, and the guy running the show. It's two separate things to me. I don't think you really need to conflate them. I still enjoy watching Punk. I think he's brilliant on the mic. He still is good in the ring. He has those fundamentals that he can still put on a very good match. But he's not as quick as he was, and I think you're going to get a couple of years out of him in WWE. He'll have some, a Mania match probably next year, and then after, I think he'll probably be done.
I think Punk's very clever as well. He moves across when the company is at literally their hottest.
Yeah.
Turns up, he
I
wrestles.
see him when he's ready to hang up the boots. I see him getting either a coaching, booking, some type of role with WWE as well. I see him staying on in the background. In his
Doing
interview, he was saying Helwani, he was saying, he likes learning, sitting, watching people. I can see him definitely being involved in the background. Which would be the only way I could see him going to AEW 10 years from now, maybe in a consulting role, right? But
I think him and Cody get on very well, despite allegations to the contract. I see if you look how diplomatic Cody is always about AEW, right? And he said it in the interview yesterday. So proud of what I've achieved there. So proud the guy's still there. What we've done is ridiculous. It's made the industry better. It's made the boys better. They've got more options. I see a point where Cody will. The workload has to get too much for Tony eventually, especially Fulham. Fulham had a great season, right? The Jags likewise have a great season. I see a point where Cody has that run in the Fed. He wins at Mania, holds the belt for maybe a year, has another year there, comes back, gets a great deal at AEW, and ends up like Dusty, ends up kind of doing both and then ends up booking within 2-3 years.
I can see Cody coming back for sure.
Oh, 100%. He's a businessman. He's got no allegiances now. He's just going to go and make as much money as possible.
What you said there, I mean, again, I don't want to harp on Tony's downfalls, but what does he actually do at Fulham and the Jaguars? He's on the board, right? And then he has people underneath him, a really solid and intelligent management team that runs it for him. I think AEW is getting 99% of his attention, really. In my opinion, I might be wrong. But I think he's all in on AEW.
JJ, have a look at his Twitter. What does he call himself? Like head of data or something? Or
I have to look it up. But yeah, owner, right? But I think you're probably right, Matt, that most of what he does is AEW. I mean, wrestling is his passion, right? So
yeah, I mean,
that's what he's going to put a lot of his time into.
Right? I would
owner slash stats at the Jaguars. His dad say owner. Owner slash director of football slash GM slash sporting director at Fulham. He owns True Media Sport, which is an analytics platform for various sporting clients. Owner slash CEO slash GM of AEW and Ring of Honor.
ROH.
He has Bob Booker now.
He can't. Can he call himself the owner of the Jags when it's your dad's company?
Well, he is. So anyway, there's a big show coming up this weekend, isn't there? Do we want to talk about that?
John, talk to me about WrestleMania. Are you hyped?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, anyone that's ever watched the show before, thank you to the 5 of you that do. We usually watch a match or something. So we asked Matt to pick out his favorite match, and I think it was interesting that he was saying, now he's into storylines over necessarily 5-star matches, that he chose The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. So that's what we're going to watch in the background. But yeah, whilst we're talking to you guys about WrestleMania. So, I mean, I think none of us here probably watch WWE week in, week out, but we do kind of keep up with the product and, catch bits on social media. But given that we are in Europe and the time frame is terrible to sit there and watch it live, and there's 5 hours worth of programming every week, probably don't get to watch as much as we would like to. But it's Mania season, so there's a lot going on. Everyone knows about the main events being Cody versus Roman and the tag match featuring The Rock. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you guys. What I guess. Well, should we start watching the Rock match and then chat about kind of what we're looking forward to watching on Mania and kind of what we expect to happen?
So the full match, yeah, we'll put a link in the description down there. If you're watching with us on YouTube, if you're watching or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, yeah, by the time it's live, I'll record it on Apple Podcasts. I hope so. I don't know if they go off on anyway. We'll put a link in the description of where to watch some of the match because it is free on the WWE's YouTube channel. I think this was done to celebrate them hitting 100 million subscribers, which is ridiculous. And you wonder how AEW can even be compared to like the machine is unreal. They'll be making so much money in ads and monetization. It's phenomenal.
Did you not see the show the other day with Bischoff where he had the guy from YouTube? He used to be the head media guy for UFC.
No.
He went through the numbers on WWE versus AEW. And I mean, I advise anyone to go find this. It's basically, it's a new Bischoff show. I can't remember what he calls it. He calls it, it's 83 weeks, but he calls it something else. It's a spin-off. And he has this expert on YouTube, and literally from, again, I don't want to go back to Punk, but he shows the numbers on YouTube.
Massive. It's called like Tough Choices or something.
It's something about, it's a rib on what TK.
Wise Choices?
Wise Choices, yeah. And he just said, look, WWE are doing so much wrong on YouTube, but it's so big. Like you just said, they can't go
too big to fail. They're too big to fail. It's ridiculous.
As he says, Tony's probably making about 3 million a year on YouTube, but he could be making 8.
Yeah.
This is the thing, like when you speak about WWE too big to fail, like they had years and years and years in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years where the product was just
horrendous.
Shit.
Yeah,
but
awful.
They still
they survived. They survived.
Yeah. They didn't just survive, they thrived. They found, different ways of driving revenue, whether that's turning it to the network, basically getting rid of their whole pay-per-view model, turning to the network, and then selling off pieces of the network to whether it be Peacock, whether it be A&E for their documentaries. Like they found ways to get through it and carry on making money. So I think it's probably fair to say they are at this point too big to fail.
And the thing is, they have such a back catalogue. Like they've used the almost video library to produce almost like docuseries, right? They're on A&E, they do looking for merch. They use their assets very well, whether it be props or territory stuff. And then they're also selling off bits by bits. So Raws are here, SmackDown's are here, PLEs will go here. I said, compared to what Punk said about, it's about getting people in the building and selling pay-per-views. It really isn't. It's about monetizing your content.
Anymore, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they do better than anyone, which is why they are so unbelievably profitable. And that's why.
Well, even Cornette turned his attention to YouTube, right? Everything drops on
Everything
YouTube.
is about clipping up certain things on YouTube because they know there's more people are more likely to listen to a 20-minute clip rather than listen to a 4-hour podcast. I do the same. I don't listen to the experience. I listen to the drive-through. That's easy to get through. The experience, you click on 4 hours, 48 minutes. Like, I'll just go onto YouTube and watch a few clips that stand out. But Cornette will easily be making 6 figures from YouTube ads or monetization of 300,000 subscribers, however much he's got. And that's, mainly wrestling isn't there yet.
He's making at least 4 figures, isn't it? He's making.
I wish. That's the way forward. And, everybody knows about YouTube. Everyone knows about TikTok. Everyone knows about certain other, subscription sites or whatever, it's very strange that AEW have not brought out like you can obviously pay on Fight, but to access like their back catalogue of pay-per-views and Ring of Honor and maybe combine the two. But I think they're leaving money on the table there. But what do I know?
The AEW network kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's something that they spoke about that they want to do.
Pay to streams the rights of the rights feeds is up very shortly with Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're in negotiations with this year. We'll see if something comes out of that, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll move on to the WrestleMania match. It is The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who arrived just 6 weeks earlier with the NWO WWF No Way Out 2002. We'll put the link in the description below. Do you both have the link ready?
I do not.
Ready to go?
And it is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, WrestleMania XL 18. The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan. Icon versus Icon. We'll click play in 3, 2, 1. I think Cody and a few others have called this the greatest match in the history of the greatest match of all time.
You remember how this feud started? I looked it up before we came
I do
online.
not. Tell us, Leach.
Tell us the
It
story.
started backstage. The Rock, I think he just beat the Undertaker,
I do know this.
and the NWO surprised him backstage, and Hogan asks him for an autograph for his son.
They were
And-
basically
and
Vince was
during that
basically burying them, right?
obviously,
He was burying all three of them.
Yeah, they basically buried each other, and an autograph turned into this match.
But
Pretty
look at
Amazing.
the flashbulbs. Look at the crowd. So weird seeing the Rock with hair as well.
Thing is, like, they know that this, like, kind of first 30 seconds, minute, like, is almost the most iconic bit of the match, right? This and the ending. It's just this kind of moment of these two icons in the ring, isn't it?
That's pro
And
wrestling,
that,
JJ.
that's what I'm saying. But we've spoken about this, like, it's not all about your 5-star matches, right? It's those moments, and I think this is what forever WWE have done better than AEW, because AEW does have those moments, but they don't sell them in the same way that WWE do. WWE will literally ram it down your throat over and over and over again. If you ever watch the 3 hours of Raw, so much of it is filled up
He
with
does.
recaps of this is what just happened 5 minutes ago. Like, you are forced to remember everything that's happened.
Whereas,
I think
on
the sweet
AEW TV,
spot
it's
is
like,
probably
oh my
somewhere
God,
in
this.
between. But
Sorry, sorry, I thought you were doing. I thought you on AEW, it's like, oh my God, this massive thing just happened. Anyway, on to the next thing. Moving on. Like,
yeah,
let it just rest. Like, calm down, lads.
let it simmer. Yeah.
This
Was it
is-
Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian? Like, they lost their match, so they could never be in a tag team ever again, and kind of like the bell rung 1, 2, 3. Oh no, they've lost. Anyway, backstage to whoever was the backstage. It's like
it,
you got to settle on that moment, right?
it was like the Clarkson meme, wasn't it? Oh no. Anyway, moving on. But anyway, it's strange that Cody compares The Rock's most recent run as Hollywood Hogan-esque. That doesn't work for me, brother. And it's weird how things have come full circle here. This was 22 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, at the
I'll
end
grab
of
a
the day,
drink.
Rock now is the real Hollywood. Yeah, he's been to Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, Hogan's Hollywood experience was what? Santa with muscles.
Was it Doctor the Nanny, or am I getting that right? The Nanny or something
In
like that?
Paradise.
Doesn't mean Paradise, yeah.
In Paradise.
Mike, and do you know, Mike, I can't believe Mike Chioda got sacked as well. Mike Chioda's fucking great ref.
What did he get sacked for?
Just, I think he said he had he had wrist surgery or something. Just because you forget after 20 odd years of
Slapping the mat.
he had something wrong with his right wrist, his counting hand, and yeah, he was out for about 4 or 5 months, and I'm sure it was like over the pandemic around that time. But he was part of the ring crew like in the 90s as like a 20-year-old. He said it was him and Shane McMahon basically. They were there earning their stripes. Big clothesline. Do you think the
Jack,
crowd will be like this?
I was going to say, whilst we're watching WrestleMania, do you want to run through the WrestleMania card and we chat about what we think is going to happen?
Yeah, certainly.
I will say before we do that, do you think like Hollywood Hogan became an uber babyface in this match and weirdly won the world title against off Triple H a month later at Backlash, which is insane to think of in this context. And The Rock was very clever to turn heel in this match. Very situational heel. Do you think The Rock will get cheered at Mania?
Well, I think there'll be some casual fans that will cheer him. Mania is quite a weird crowd, isn't it? Because you get a lot of like once a year kind of, it's our tradition, even though we don't watch the week to week program. You'll have people who maybe were fans in the Attitude Era that just come out for WrestleMania. I'm sure that there will be fans, but I think the vast majority of fans will be cheering for Cody.
See, I don't know, right? Because did you see the segment? I think it was Raw just gone, where The Rock showed those little girls crying.
Yeah,
and the
On
crowd
Cody
reaction. It was
Crybabies.
Philadelphia. Was it Philadelphia? I think it was
Man
Philly.
Rhodes.
They
I'm
were
guessing it
cheering.
wouldn't have been Philly because Mania's in Philly, right? So I don't think they
Sorry,
would have
not
been in
Philly.
Philly
Where
this
was
week.
it?
They were in
Don't know. Anyway,
New York, I
What-
think,
Okay, New York,
or
New
Boston. It
Jersey.
was a Northeast territory. It's old school
yeah,
territory.
They were cheering The Rock
yeah.
after in the girl, 8-year-old girls, whatever they were crying. So I don't know.
Otherwise,
I
what I
think more
hate
50-50. I
Seth
think we're quite
Rollins.
partisan when it comes to the main event as well.
I think when it comes to the main event of night one in that tag match, there will be a lot of Rock fans. I don't think there'll be that many Roman fans. The thing is, for me, I think even if you were a Roman fan and enjoyed what he was doing with that title, the fact that he's probably had about 5 or 6 matches in the last year, and held onto that belt for so long, I think people are just kind of bored of it and ready for Cody to win it now. It'll just kind of be interesting to see how it all plays out. We're expecting it'll be bloodline rules, where fuck that means, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of interferences and different people coming in and out.
Yeah,
I think if Cody doesn't go over this year, I think people will be even more pissed than they were a year ago.
I think it's
I know, but
impossible.
I can see it
Impossible for him
happening.
not to win.
I can see it happening though. Unfortunately, I can see their
In what
extent.
scenario does Cody not win the belt?
A scenario where, again, I mean, if I had to put money on it, all my life on it, Cody wins, right?
And you're not a gambling man, Leach.
I'm not a gambling man, but I just still see a scenario where, like, for example, The Rock is getting so much heat. How does The Rock? How does Cody get back to get that heat back from The Rock? How does The Rock get his comeuppance in a tag match if he's not gonna lose?
Because they almost have to pass the heat on to Roman, right? So
How are they gonna do
the
that?
heat from this is Cody's the babyface who has been wronged, who has been mistreated. Even though it's The Rock been doing it, it is still
I mean, the main
like
event
the
should be
fault.
Cody and The Rock,
I mean,
like
the
the final boss, right?
I think
That's
Cody
the
is The
match.
Rock at SummerSlam, and then next year it leads to Roman versus Rock.
But the heat's now, isn't it? I mean, I mean, WWE are good at extending it, but there's a chance it'll cool down by SummerSlam, especially if they're
Heat it back up again, right?
throwing
I think Rock's more than capable of
disappearing
doing
from
that.
coming back. It could do, yeah, it could do. But no,
It sounds really stupid.
Get the belt, Cody.
I'm so surprised how good The Rock's been. Like, it sounds really stupid to say because I mean, he carried the baton, the baton, baton. When Austin got hurt in 2000, he basically carried WWE through a bit of a sticky patch. Austin came back, I think, September time, feuded with Triple H. But the level he's been at as a heel and the ability to draw heat, given how big a babyface he is in the social consciousness of the American public in 2024 is phenomenal. I don't think that can be in the play. Can you imagine someone like Cena coming back 5 years ago? Again, that's probably a bad example, right? Or even a Stone Cold, but the ability to get this much heat and get this much interest in a storyline is, for me, it's like hats off to him, like Mount Rushmore level. Okay,
the man knows what he's doing.
The man, that's ultimately it, right? The man knows what he's doing, and I feel very stupid for even like doubting him to be on a level of.
You know what? You know what's different this time? He's got $30 million worth of stock. So that's 30 million reasons for making.
That's a vested interest, baby.
Yeah, but he's good though, right? He deserves it. He's on the board now, and he's got 30 million stock. He's going to be all his decisions now are going to be about that 30 million stock, right? That investment.
So what you're trying to say is, if the guys at 888 want to put you board, you'll see a massive trajectory performance.
Oh mate, if I was at a company and they turned around and gave me stock like that, you'd get 110% out of me, right?
Quiff don't have a director of compliance yet. If just want to throw that out there.
You can edit that bit out.
That out.
I think the other thing is right that
I might
you've
be
got
leaving soon anyway.
someone.
Like, let's see what happens next week at 365.
I think the other thing is that you've got someone in Hunter who is probably a little bit better at building those stories. Like when we saw Rock come back before and face Cena, I don't think he put in as good a performance, but there wasn't those heat angles in the same way. It was a lot of the time it was just those two in the ring chatting, basically. Um, there wasn't like the physicality that you're seeing now. So
Yeah.
And
Were there
also,
no baby faces in that first match?
don't
Yeah,
know.
the once in a lifetime
well,
happened twice. Was,
I
was it
I checked out by then because Punk had already. I think I came back for the pipe bomb, and then Punk came back like 4 weeks later, didn't it, or something stupid, and then nothing changed. I went, okay, I'm out.
well, Cena was always kind of put over as a babyface, but a lot of the fans never bought into him, right? He was already in that Cena sucks phase, so a lot of it was kind of like a bit of a split always, right? It was always a big mix between boos and cheers for Cena, but um, he, yeah, it was very much kind of split. But I would say they were both baby faces. But
Yeah, I think
yeah, I mean, to be honest,
it,
if you go back over those promos, like Cena was better than Rock on the mic at that point. Like Cena
I,
had The Rock flustered in a lot of spots.
I just remember I read online did Cena not say to him like anyway I don't need like my promo notes on my
Yes,
hand
that was a
to put
famous
in.
one. Yeah,
And the Rock's there like fucking raging.
yeah, yeah.
Still check. No, Mike Chioda takes a check. Can we get a time check, please, JJ?
I've had a couple of adverts pop up, so I'm at 10,
Same.
53, 54, 55.
Okay, I'm 5 seconds ahead of you. I'm going to pause. I was saying it's a real shame Mike Chioda was left because in my head, I know Earl Hebner was Steve Austin's favorite referee, right? So he did all the main events. Mike Chioda was the best referee during that period between say 98 and Chioda used to do. I remember because again between in '98 I was such a Uber WWF fan. Oh, takes one to the chops there. Chioda would do the full program between Rock and Shamrock, and then Rock and Triple H, and then he basically followed the Rock until he was in the main events with Earl Hebner. But it's a shame he got laid off
Weird
during the
that Kyoto
pandemic.
got. It was weird that they laid him off, right? Like,
He'd been there 32 years.
yeah, it's very random.
Vince just
yeah,
yeah, Vince
that's
just
why I asked. Do we know why he got fired? Because it's a bit weird.
he'd had wrist surgery and he'd had time off, and
Was it the Hefners who had their hands in the cookie jar?
they were doing bootleg shirts. I would never do bootleg wrestling shirts. You can get this from nocontextflair.etsy.com. Thank you very much.
Shameless, shameless.
Hey, Leach,
Uh,
I've sold 1,800 wrestling shirts in 15 months.
nice.
I've not been sued yet. I've got a few season desists,
Okay,
never been sued.
I'm gonna try and fantasy book that. I hate fantasy booking, obviously, as you know, but like, let me chuck some scenarios.
I hate fantasy booking, as you know, but here's my theory.
Let me chuck you some scenarios at you, right? So if the baby faces are losing the tag match, that means Seth Rollins has lost a match at WrestleMania, right? He won't get pinned, but he loses that match. He then goes on to lose against Drew,
Does
right?
it?
And I think he does. So that's two matches he's lost at Mania, right?
I would you not think? Go on.
Does he in the storyline, he loses that match to Drew. He reflects and he goes, I've been concentrating too much on this tag and I've lost my world title. Does he not have cause to interfere in the main event and cost Cody the title? That's one thing I was thinking about. One angle.
Because Roman is kind of his blood because they've been together for.
Maybe they tie that in as well. I don't know. I don't know if, I mean, they've obviously had blood matches since, right? But I don't know how, maybe the WWE universe have forgotten about that. I don't know. But on that night, he has justification for being angry with Cody. Should he lose his world title?
What do you think of the idea of? I mean, I think it's plausible.
Match on night two as well. So you know when they used to do the old Money in Your Bank is first, and then you forget, and then later it gets cashed in. Maybe we forget that Seth has lost and got angry. 6 matches later, he's interfering in the main event.
It's so weird, right? Hogan with his weightlifting belt, right? Slapping, beating the Rock like a dog. It's just.
Is that where the Rock got the idea from for Cody?
Well, I think got it from MJF, right? And MJF kind of tweeted as much like, "You first of all, you steal my idea of like whipping Cody, and now you're stealing my ex's art." Which is now look at this. Nobody on their phones. Everyone just living in the moment. Um,
Has a phone. They've got their Kodak instant cameras that they're going to take down
well,
to
yeah,
Boots
true, yeah.
when they get home from Mania.
Do you think there's any chance that MGF shows with Mania?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a chance. We're all betters here. There's always a
I'm
chance,
not.
right? But do I think it's likely? No. I mean, price is like 33-1, I guess.
Is Greg pricey though?
I haven't seen. I've been busy recording a YouTube show, but
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
it'd
so.
be. I don't think it'd be 33s.
No, it wouldn't, but in my head, that
You
would
wouldn't.
probably
You
be
wouldn't
around
have.
a
You
bit
think. You
rare,
think
yeah.
he's still with AEW and it's just a work. You
If
shouted
I
me for
was
saying I think
guessing,
everything's a work.
you do think everything's. If I
It's
was
the wrestling
guessing,
business. Everything's a work. Don't believe anything.
if I was guessing based on previous what
You
we've
speaking
seen
of
from
Hulk
MJF
Hogan?
before, I think MJF is an AEW guy, and I don't think that he would at this point in his career jump ship and show up on WrestleMania. That's
It's
just
great that we're on the
just my
subject,
view.
right? I've got a scenario for that then. So
Hmm.
for
Hit the
that
phone.
to pull off, so for MGF to surprise everyone and come back to AEW at some point and interfere and whatever, maybe Adam Cole, TK, Tony Khan, would have to communicate with the rest of the roster and say, do not mention his name in any of your promos because his name has not been mentioned after that pinfall. I still remember
I
it.
understand.
You
There's
want
still
Hogan to
another 10.
win?
Hold on. There's still another 10 minutes of this video.
Oh,
What's going
they
on?
celebrate
Do you
together.
not know
Don't
what
they?
happens, JJ?
Did the NWO come out as well? I think. I can't remember.
Wild. I
So
was
I think
thinking, why are
Kevin
we
Nash is supposed
why I was thinking, why are we tracking this at this point? There's still ages left now. There's 10
to.
minutes of those two breathing it in, enjoying the moment, which again we said AEW don't do enough.
Cody Rhodes has said this is his favorite match of all time.
Hmm.
But he also came back and said Triple H is his favorite wrestler of all time. So I really wouldn't believe anything Cody says.
But to answer your question, Jack, no, MGF's not going to be at the.
I mean,
What price would you back, Jack?
MJF at
Yeah.
Mania 25.
Yes. Okay.
25s.
And Matt?
I love the idea of Heyman taking MJF heels under his wing, especially. I mean, is that a little too sensitive for the minute with
I mean, pre the tweet,
Israel and Palestine?
Post tweet, I'm after 40s. I'm not backing it any shorter than 40s.
What did you back with me a few weeks ago? I can't remember. Did you back Adam Cole?
Yes.
Oh, I can't see that. I just can't. I
What?
really want to go higher as well. I just don't see him as world champion. He's not a world champion. Look at the fucking state of him, man. Lissy shouts at us for body shaming. Sort yourself out, pal.
His body's actually better than what it was when he arrived.
What?
It is.
I mean,
When you're injured, mate, you just work out, don't you?
I can't talk, so I'm a chubby lad, lanky. I'd never get any. You wouldn't see me with my shirt off in a wrestling ring in front of millions of people. So I'm not going to say a word about Adam Cole. Can't talk.
I mean, I've been to the gym every day this week, so no, I'm trying.
So
I
Jack,
was in
what
the
do you
gym this
think then?
evening.
Hey, are you? Go on, JJ.
Who's winning then, Jack? Night one, this tag team. You haven't given his group.
I think the Bloodline are a massive skinny price. I'd be 10s on for them.
Did you know? Did you watch? Was it Raw? They had a Bloodline rules match.
Did they?
I don't watch
So was
Raw.
that
I
the main
listen to
event? Solo versus Seth? Was that what
No,
the
those
main
are
event
cool.
was?
I watched the I
That was
listened to the
strange
What
for me.
Culture recap.
Like, why would you have the stipulated match for the potential main event on? And it was terrible as well. It was just a no DQ match. I mean, I can
I didn't
imagine
understand.
at Mania with The Rock on commentary and having a big free for all, which I think would be a cluster for a main event. This is why
What
I'm
I
also
found weird about that bit in the opening segment, built up, let's have a match, me and you, Rock, or if not, me and you, Roman. It's like you built up two amazing matches, and they were like, no, you can have the shit match that no one actually really wants to see.
Well, you can have the main event WrestleMania 40 stipulation. I found that weird. Why not?
Yeah,
just
it was weird.
match, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow, the outside is turned on. I don't remember this.
Yeah, yeah. And then they had obviously they helped each other.
Do you
right?
think they put this on the fly?
No, I think it was always going to be the direction, wasn't it?
Like, aside from the Rock stuff, the Roman stuff, the Cody stuff, is there anything on WrestleMania that's piquing your interest this year?
Nothing.
Yes.
Nothing. Fair
For
enough.
me, so for me, Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. I know it's not.
Who the fuck are you, Matt Leach?
Well, no, seriously.
Hand in your cult membership now.
I think a theme through the whole show on both nights will be the demise of the Judgment Day. And they'll split off into different directions. One direction is Dominic Mysterio and Escobar are gonna win, and Dominic is gonna be under the umbrella of his new father figure, Escobar. And I think it'll go for a long time. It'll go to SummerSlam, and we'll probably see Dominic eventually going back to his father because maybe Escobar's going too far. There'll be a scene where he's laying in the steel chair shots, and maybe his son comes back to his father. But I'd see that being a good storyline over the next few months.
There was something that I heard in passing. You're an NFL guy?
Not really.
You follow NFL? No,
Well,
okay. I don't. I don't think Jack does. But,
I don't. It's my theory.
no, this is just something that I heard about, and I don't really know that much about. But the Kelsey brothers, right? So Travis is the one that everyone knows because he's with Taylor. But Jason Kelsey, I think is his name. Apparently had been training for some wrestling appearance, and maybe anyway, one of the Kelsey brothers has apparently been training for a wrestling appearance. And there was something about when they were celebrating some win or something, they were wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. So the theory was that he would show up at WrestleMania.
Yes.
I don't know if he's affiliated with Philly in any way.
Yeah,
but
I've seen the betting line for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he could be there. Yeah, that could be. And they do love having a celebrity who's obviously fit enough to get involved and help.
Leach, have you seen this? The Jim Cornette reviews CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani.
Yes, I listened to it before.
An hour and 15. I can't listen to that after we've done.
It's worth listening to. But no, I mean,
226,000 views in 19 hours.
Well,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, he's concentrating on YouTube. He's sliced that out of his overall podcast, released that first. His podcast drops like 3 days. But no, I mean, I can see the splitting completely at Mania. I think Ripley probably retains, but I can see a failed cash in as well. I can just see the complete demise
love that.
Of Judgment Day and having a reset on that group.
Yeah, so Rhea loses if Dominic loses, if Priest fails his cash in. Are Finn and JD doing anything? They in the tag match?
The ladder match, yeah. I mean, the ladder match is interesting, right? Because there is a possibility of the belts being split. There could be two winners.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't know how the bookies are going to settle that. I know Ladbrokes.
I'm guessing dead heat rules, but we can check with Rafa. Right?
I think Ladbrokes are going to do dead heat. Yeah, Rafa said. But yeah, I can see Judgment Day losing.
Can you explain to our viewers who Rafa is?
Oh, have we lost Matt? For the viewers watching at home, Rafa is one of the people in our wrestling chat group.
You can't have been that stunned. Please tell me the camera froze.
He prices up some wrestling matches.
Yeah, the camera froze, I think.
I said, do you want to explain to the people out there who Rafa is?
Oh, who he is? I mean, would he appreciate being outed on the?
Who's Rafa?
Rafa, he's a man who works for a betting company.
And makes betting lines that we chat about and discuss in our little WhatsApp group. But yeah,
he'll run lines past the group, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Cotton, we appreciate you.
What else on this card? I mean, Gunther, Sami Zayn. I don't know if you've been following that storyline.
Yeah, I mean, you won't know about this, but I'm a massive Chad Gable mark, so I was
mainly
hoping
wrestling viewers will know JJ is a big.
I was hoping it was going to be obviously Chad Gable versus Gunther, and Chad was finally going to finish his story and win the belt off of Gunther. But
there's a betting line on Chad Gable to actually turn heel as well.
I think that's likely. I think he probably turns on Sami Zayn and costs him a title. I don't think Sami's going to win. Well, but they've kind of built him up as this.
I've looked into something, and I can't remember what show it was, and I heard someone mention it. So I looked into it, and on the 15th of April, so the Raw after, not the Raw exactly after, but the week after, they're in Montreal. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, like, doesn't mean he wins in Mania. He could get a rematch on that show in Montreal. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sami Zayn does beat Gunther, because Gunther hasn't got anything now to aim for, right, other than the world title. He's surpassed everybody with the IC. Is that correct? He's surpassed in terms of
true, but I don't. The thing that's in my head is that if assuming, which is the short odds outcome, that Roman does lose his belt, I don't know if they'd want to end two massive title reigns both on the same weekend at WrestleMania. I mean, maybe that doesn't play into it, but just what I was thinking.
Yeah.
For me, the story has been that Gable is the man that can beat Gunther. I don't think it's been built up for Sami Zayn.
Maybe then they have a big grudge match which starts with that Raw. Maybe he gets beat down by Gable so bad he doesn't make the Raw after Mania, but he makes the Raw in Montreal and starts a feud with Gable. And obviously, Gable can wear the US flag and all that kind of thing. Get some really good heat potentially.
It was just the man. He should be IC champ. It's a shame they never finished that. Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that match. I think that'll be. I mean, any match with Gunther in these days is.
Can you give us some
WWE level
value, JJ?
Sorry,
just looking
some value.
At the match list, right? Can you give us some value?
Yeah, I think the best bet is Rey Mysterio to win. I mean, I don't know the odds. Have you got the odds in front of you?
No, I can get them up though.
He is still odds on with the British books slightly, I think.
With Greggy Bet, wrestle odds.
No, like Ladbrokes and the like.
He's
the ones that people can actually bet on.
5 to 6 on Ladbrokes.
You can bet with Greggy Bet. You
not legally. Not legally.
Is that a casino?
This is going out on YouTube, Jack. We're not just chatting amongst ourselves.
That's possible.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of wrestling odds, I think 5 to 6 is probably a good bet. Most of the time, you're looking at kind of.
Yeah, I think the best value
1 to 10 odds
is Logan Paul at 4 to 6.
Is he 4 to 6? Yeah, I mean, that's
who's he pin?
I'll lose that match. He's against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens.
Kevin Steen.
Who are gonna fight amongst themselves, right? And then Logan Paul wins it. Yeah,
and then behind the scenes, if you pull the curtain back, they're both on good deals. They're both experienced. They both don't care really losing this match, right?
The other one that I have bet on is Drew McIntyre to beat Seth Rollins, which you, Matt, said that you agree with. That was odds against when I backed it. I don't know what the odds are now.
Yeah,
he's like 3's on. It's no price
best
now.
Price 2 to 5 now. 1 to 5 for the Americans.
For Drew to beat Seth?
Yeah.
Sorry. I've got it the wrong way around. I backed Seth to beat Drew because I thought that Drew was.
He gets 7 to 4.
Because when I watched the Raw where there was that Drew and Seth face-off. I don't think it was this week, but the week before, when Punk came out and said he was going to be special guest commentator, it seemed to me that Drew was far too concerned with CM Punk and all of that than to be focused enough on Seth and Seth win. So
Punk's on commentary for that match, right? That's been confirmed, I think.
Mm.
Punk is commentating on that match, so
yes, yeah. But then the other side of it is that you expect that the storyline would be Drew would win, and then it goes to Drew versus Punk going forward, right? So,
but on that, JJ, surely you work your way back from Clash at the Castle. Is that in July?
June, I think.
In June,
okay.
Right? So that's in Scotland now. Okay.
Drew's gonna, if it's in Glasgow, Drew's gonna be a babyface. He needs to. If he is going there as champion, he needs a heel to work with. Or he's a heel. None of it makes sense because he'll be surely going for the belt then.
Yeah, Punk can play heel for that one night, for that build-up. No problem.
Punk prefers working as a heel as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
doesn't it work? Doesn't
will, you know? that they always mention in WWE, Bizarro World.
Bizarro world. Best from La Land.
Almost works better for him to go into Shut the Castle without the title and to win the title there, right? I don't know, just thinking out loud.
But to make
Maybe
a
that's
good
the pocket
babyface,
talking.
you need a good heel. So he has to have. I think Seth Rollins turning heel and being the villain going into there would be. I don't see how people cheer for Seth Rollins. I don't get it. I don't find him entertaining. I find him so fucking juvenile.
Nah, I
Seth
preferred him when
Rollins turning
Tyler Black.
heel. What's that?
I preferred him when he was Tyler Black.
Yeah, exactly. I love the package pile driver. That's gone back
I'm
last
not saying
15
I don't
years.
get his gimmick. He's a fantastic wrestler.
Yeah, what is this like idiot who dresses up like a wanker? I don't get it. Are we the target audience? Because he's, I mean,
Clearly not.
clearly not. Clearly not. He's just trying to dress a bit zany. He's a bit quirky.
I can see him turning heel, when he loses, if he loses his title at Mania, which I expect him to do. I think he's built in, isn't he? He's going to be last on night 1, first on night 2 if they stick to that. He's the odds are we think he's going to lose on night 1. Drew could interfere at the end of the match and really beat him, and he could work, on a busted leg or something.
Was Drew ever a Paul Heyman guy?
I don't know. It feels like something that could have happened.
That sounds quite plausible, right?
I can see
it. I don't see. I don't think they can let Cody lose. Like Cody has taken like old school wrestling in my head. Like the babyface has taken a beating, not once but twice but thrice, and now he gets his comeuppance and makes it right.
Why The Rock though? That's the bit I don't. I agree with you. But
well, I think The Rock.
Back on The Rock. Is it just that he whips him during the Bloodline Rules match and that's it? And his mom slaps him?
No, because it's The Rock, but The Rock isn't in the match. It's Roman versus Cody.
Well, Rock can be ringside.
But someone can take The Rock out and then they get the heat transferred onto them.
Cody's got to get his revenge.
On The Rock?
So, yes.
He gets his revenge by winning the belt.
Nah, because he wins it from the wrong guy. And that, I mean, it just feels backwards.
But that's the way booking, right? They put all the emphasis on The Rock rather than Roman.
What do you think, JJ? I think Cody's had too much of a beatdown by The Rock not to get proper revenge.
Yes, it's all Cody does win about how does that fall out with the bloodline, right? And do the bloodline implode? And as Rock is part of that, he kind of gets to see The Rock and the bloodline kind of implode and the fallout from that, and just I guess.
So basically, emotional revenge for a beatdown rather than a beatdown revenge for a beatdown.
But then, like Jack said, right, you've got SummerSlam, which we think could probably be Cody versus The Rock. So you can have I don't know what the pay-per-view schedule is, but I imagine there's something in Saudi Arabia. If you get Rock versus Roman, have that, and then Rock comes out and goes on. I mean, apparently Roman's going to take time off, according to some journalists. I don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe you know, Matt.
Yes.
No, that wasn't Sean Ross. That was it. That was Meltzer that said that. It was just like a throwaway comment. Roman's taking time off after Mania. Anyway, moving on. I don't know. That's. I mean, it makes sense if he does, right? He loses the belt. He doesn't wrestle very much anyway. He's not on TV much anyway. So what would be the reason for him to be on TV? It does make sense, but yeah, it's hard to see what the fallout will be in terms of how does Cody get his revenge on The Rock? Is it just winning the belt and Mrs. Rhodes slaps Rock across the face? Is that revenge enough?
I think his mum slaps The Rock, and that gets like the level of pop that when Linda McMahon stepped out of her wheelchair at WrestleMania 17 and slaps Trish, that's because nothing has happened, right?
Whipped as well, right? Someone's whipping him with his
belt.
The
Rock, Cody's whipping him with the American Nightmare belt, and that will get.
Doesn't he has to give that? He has to give that to a child at the start of the match, right? So how will he get it back?
Doesn't have to.
No, that's it.
Or he can hand it to his daughter and then get it back during the match.
Or his daughter could whip the Rock.
No.
We're just
It won't,
footballing
it
here.
won't, I mean, imagine Penny trying to whip the guy you hate. Won't have the same ferocity, will it? But
Shouldn't be pretty brutal.
if he gives his belt to what's it called, Liberty, of course she is Liberty Bell, and then halfway through the match he goes to Brandy and Liberty, give me that back. I'm sorting this now. But I think Cody has to go. If Cody doesn't go over, it is he's finished.
And the thing is, as well, like if Cody doesn't go over, what message does that send to anyone who's looking to come from AEW to WWE in the future, right?
And get yourself over to like the top babyface in the company, and you've got to wait at least 3 years to get to the climb the ladder. Tricky one.
I think he has to win, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I still, like I say, though, I still see a world where he doesn't win. Maybe at Saudi Arabia, The Rock and Roman, and then The Rock will be the champion for a while. Then Cody beats The Rock for the title at SummerSlam.
You're forgetting The Rock's schedule as well. He's got his own. He just launched his own men's skincare, whatever.
Yeah, but he doesn't do a Tony Khan, and he doesn't actually, create the skincare product himself and control the
What are you trying
factory
to say?
floor,
It's
right?
all the facade.
Boring, right? I mean, he's got the football season coming up as well, Andy. Didn't he have something to do with the
XFL?
UFL now.
UFL now,
Oh, okay.
Merged
Sorry.
with the United States Football League.
Yeah. Anyway,
He's a busy man.
I'm enjoying this storyline though. I mean, if it ends at Mania, fine. Roman goes away. What do we have next?
Do you think we get any clues on the Friday with Paul Heyman being inducted by Roman Reigns into the Hall of Fame?
What clues on what? Clues on
what's going to happen over the weekend?
No.
The question I have is, if you don't have The Rock and you don't have Roman,
I can't believe that Leach thought you were posh, by the way. Carry on.
If you don't have The Rock and you don't have Roman, what interesting storyline does Cody have going forward as a champion?
Brock.
Like who's there? No, I'm saying if you don't have Rock, you don't have Roman. If you're saying Brock's got a busy schedule, I mean Brock's probably not going to come back, and they already did that a year ago, right? So, what's the storyline?
The heel to work
for
with him?
Cody going forward? Like, I mean, there's
MJF.
In terms of who's on the roster right now active,
Yeah,
I don't think that there's very much, is there?
No one, unless somebody like
I know he's
Randy Orton.
I know he's wrestled Seth a million times, but he could go to Seth if Seth turns heel and he blames Cody for losing his title, right? Then you've got Gunther as well. Gunther could be an absolute mutant of a heel that actually we think, Cody could lose to Gunther come SummerSlam.
Yep.
I mean, Gunther's got to drop the IC belt first, but I can see that happening. But you're right. There's not that level of not going to have this level of interest again, are they? For a while, it's going to cool off a little bit post Mania.
Something that's kind of occurred to me is that
you've got the biggest heel that the company's seen in like 5-10 years. If they disappear, and it kind of highlights the depth of the roster or how big a star they are and how you look at anyone else kind of on their level. It's the business has been really good for WWE for the last 12, 18 months. It inevitably has to cool off eventually. You wonder if they kind of panic if numbers go down post-Mania.
They always do, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, also, we've got CM Punk as well. It sounded like his injury isn't that bad. He could be back.
You're expecting him to go with Drew, or so you expect him to go that way, right? He's involved in that storyline more than the Cody side. I don't know.
Yeah,
just thinking out loud.
At SummerSlam, though, they could prepare him, turn him heel, get him ready for Cody, potentially.
It'd be interesting to see how they go with the kind of stars or building those stars at the top of that division when you don't have
Karrion Kross,
you don't have Rock.
Anyway, no, he's losing at Mania anyway. Right? He's
Karrion Kross, big fan of No Context Law. Shout out Karrion. Cheers, pal. I've got a lot of time for you.
Is there any interest in the Uso versus Uso?
Absolutely none whatsoever. I think Jimmy Uso's a pleb. He's a shit wrestler as well. Get fuck.
Wow, here he is. I mean, that could Jimmy's odds against, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
good
think
reason.
that
He's not
could
going to win.
that could be a bet. It could be a
So
bet.
if you
He
put
needs
£20
to
on
win.
Jimmy Uso at 5-2, you lose £20. No?
Then you say that, but I haven't seen you come in with a £500 bet on Jey Uso. So
What price is it?
he's odds on.
Okay, what price is it?
I don't know off the top of my head,
But
do
yeah,
I?
1 to 3, 3 to 10.
There you
Is-
go.
Well,
1
I
to
told
3.
you Sting would not lose at all. I regret not getting.
No. JJ 100% has the record, right? The bet didn't go on, but you remember was it the 1,000 at 1 to 10
I
on the
tried to have
box?
a thousand on at 1 to 10 with for the Young Bucks to beat. Who was it? Was it against the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy? Or, no, I don't even think it was. Can't
Was
remember
it
who they lost the titles to.
the Lucha Brothers? Penta and
Might have been. I can't remember anyway. Yeah,
Lucha
they
was
were
doing a
1 to 10
cage
on.
match for the titles, right?
No, it wasn't that. This was a random Dynamite.
yeah.
I can't remember who won the belts, but
I
they were
don't
1
even
to
know
10
why they
on.
lost, to be fair. I can't remember but I just remember them losing. And
Mm.
everyone was wondering whether JJ thought his bet was on or not.
That was not on.
Was
But
it? Was this with Greg?
yeah. But I did, the bet wasn't on. I think I'd
The
sent it
clue
at like
was
1 in the
the
morning.
request came at 4 a.m., right?
Yeah, there you go.
At 4 a.m. Greg said, I'll wait till the morning. Oh, no, I mean, Dynamite would have been 1 or 2 a.m. You had the bet at 10 minutes before.
But this should have been a couple of days before. Yeah, it wasn't night of, luckily. So anyway, yeah, bet was not on.
So you've always run
Thank
good
fuck.
JJ, basically.
Yeah, I think my best one was a 40 quid bet on to be the first. What was the title belt they released? That not international title, whatever they called it when it first came on.
Intercontinental or something. Continental?
No. It was the one with the flags.
International?
All Atlantic.
All Atlantic.
All Atlantic
Yeah.
title, yeah. So I had I think I had 40 on it. It might have been 16s for Pac to be the first champion, and that came in. That was the best that I've had.
I think
But
my
anyway.
best one was 25s for Adam Cole's first partner. For Adam Cole's first match with Daniel Garcia. Thinking he has to be like a mid-card type heel he can beat and still look okay with. Thinking like Daniel Garcia.
You take that scattergun approach to these kind of long-term markets, though, right?
In my head, he has to be a certain type of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work out possible scenarios. So in my head, I could see Ospreay losing to Hobbs with Callis shenanigans. So I'm thinking about 33s. That's a good price. And then what price was Ospreay into last night? 10s on?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, I got the value because
you
he
got
Hobbs
the value.
6-1.
It would have been bigger than 33s. But anyway.
Like Greg thought he'd be shrewd having 25 on Wardlow at 20-1 to be next world champion, and then I think he was like 7-1 to beat Joe first. Okay, he's not.
You can get stung. You can get stung on the short prices just as much as you can throw money away on the bigger prices.
66ers, Serena Deeb, who next women's world champion.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's back. Nobody's back Thunder Rosa at all. Even though she's
not going to be here anyway, is she?
Why not?
She's not
She can win a belt.
I mean, at least
Has there been a women's like multiple champion?
Hikaru Shida.
Well,
Tony Storm.
yeah, Hikaru Shida and Tony was interim, and now she is, which they later changed to non-interim, however that works, and now she's champion again. So
yeah, okay. So Shida was the first.
Yeah, I think so. Can't say I know for sure.
Speaking of AEW, I mean, do you want to go into
the
AEW?
first women's champion was Nyla Rose, then Riho beat her.
There you go. Very interesting. I don't know. We've got, how long have we gone now? We've been going for about an hour and a half.
We're going for an hour. Give us a certainty for Mania and a long shot price, JJ.
I mean, who's in that tag title match? Because that'll be a good long shot price.
I don't watch the Fed shite.
Awesome Truth.
Yeah, no. Hold on. I thought about this yesterday. Let me find the odds.
I've had DIY in that.
So I thought, anyway, I mean, the odds-on shout is probably probably Cody for the cert, but I mean, who really knows? Like, if I was gonna have a bet, it would be that, and
You're talking like you
in
don't
in
bet.
terms of a certainty. But yeah, Touch Republic at 6-1. For probably a dead heat rules. So you're getting 3-1 on that. Probably the shout for a long shot. There's not too much value going around, but yeah, go on, Jack.
And you go and get
What
those
about you?
odds at Wrestle Odds on Twitter at Wrestle Odds. Leach, give us
We have to
a
wait
bank.
until he gives us money before you start saying this.
I'm trying to be nice to him, so I can actually. I've been banned already once in the past 6 months. Leach, give us a certainty and a big price fancy.
Okay.
You're gonna put your big price fancy is Roman, presumably.
No. I think well, my odds on it's not going to be that skinny. Will be Logan Paul at 4-6. And that's a shoo-in. And then as an outsider, I mean, Sami Zayn is 9-4. So if you consider that an outsider, I'll go Sami Zayn over. Sami Zayn's got more of a chance of beating Gunther than Roman beating Cody.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
No?
I
I prefer to take 9-4 and Sami than what are we getting on? Are we getting similar? Are we getting like 5-2?
I think
to one?
Cody falls on Roman like 130 maybe. I don't think they do both title changes on the same card. There's no point, right? You said one fair.
It's 2 different days. Gone for Sami is night 1.
I mean the weekend as a whole.
Billy on
You
as
don't
well.
have to do. People aren't coming to Mania to see title changes. They're seeing moments and
I
members.
thought that a couple of years ago when I was punting on Mania, and there was something crazy like 6-7 changes.
I remember me, Greg, and JJ went to play poker on this weekend last year. Pretty sure I did my brains. And I needed Roman to win about $2,000, and I couldn't. No, I needed Cody. Sorry, I couldn't believe. I mean, every multiple possible, and they're watching it live. Watching it with my missus in bed. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. Like, okay, some referee has to come out and like ring the bell again, restart the match. And they're watching it, keep watching. Nothing's happening. What's going on here? Oh my God.
Game over.
Cody's lost.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? Are you okay? Go to sleep. Ignore me. So I'd love to tuck into Cody again. I just don't. I'm so scarred from last year.
Don't trust
My
yourself.
banker would be Cody. And I do think there is. Seth Rollins is a big price at 72 to defend the belt. Big price.
There you go. I'm on.
Interesting. Okay, so you're
I
going.
think I'm going to go in again.
You're outsider.
I think I've already backed like Seth to beat Drew by pinfall with I think 72 with Rafa.
I think if you're going for any odds against shots, I would go Seth or Jimmy.
Why would Jimmy beat Jay?
Why wouldn't he? Think about it like that.
Because Jay's a big star, and Jimmy's just some jobber. He might as well be part of New Japan.
He owes him, right? If you're going kayfabe, right? Why would you not want to lose to your brother and do him a favor at Mania? Jimmy's done nothing, right? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely fucking nothing.
I mean, yeah, I'm with JJ. Jimmy's got a good chance at that price.
What is he? 2-1, 7-4? Yeah. But
bigger. You can get 9-4, I think.
There you go.
Leach will get JJ a much better price. Right. Those their WrestleMania picks. I still think Cody does finish the story, and Seth kind of defies his own story, despite what's going to happen on night 1. I've been Jack Milner. He's been John Jacob, and he has been Matt Leach. Welcome edition. Thank you very much, Mr. Leach, for joining us. And we'll see you all next week for the recap. Ta-ra.
Peace.